Hello everyone and welcome to Gierok Farms. We are back to the round baler project. We just brought it in here to thaw out. We had it outside, blew the snow off of it, got it all cleaned up. Now we have the hardware to bolt all these beams together. We're gonna break out the drill, the router today, get this thing all finished up. So hope you all enjoy the video. If you haven't seen the progress, we have a couple videos of this, all the way from a tree standing in the woods to what we got here now. To get started here, I am gonna work on our pins. So we're gonna do at least 6 pins, one on each corner, and then 2 on each side of the beams here in the center. And instead of going with big bolts, we're gonna make kind of a pin. This will be our rod, and then I will weld it to a nice square piece of this, and we'll have a washer on the bottom with a bolt or something through the bottom to keep it from pulling out, and that will tie these cross members, or at least 3 of them, to our 2 big beams. We don't think we need to tie down every single one of them because we're gonna have bolts through end on both sides. Yesterday, Dad, he got some carriage bolts, and that's what we're gonna use to tie down these outer pieces to our beams here, and that's gonna be on every single one on each side, so that will also help square and strengthen and tie everything together. Starting off here, I think I'll make some of those big pins, do that metal fabbing first, then we'll roll right into the routering and the drilling and the cutting. We're gonna trim off the excess down there, make our braces here, our backboards on each end. I hope y'all enjoy the video. Ooh, look out.
This is how we get the exhaust out of here. You open the front door and the back door, which I got the steel doors partly shut, but then the air flows through. Less than a half minute, all the old air is gone and fresh air is in.
All right, we've been really making some progress. I've been working on these homemade rods, and I did start using the drill press, but I don't know, that's a pretty big hole to make with a drill, so I think I'm gonna transition to the torch. I think that'll go a bit quicker. Dad's been working on the wood portion of the project here. He's been making really good progress, clipping right along.
Use a smaller bit first.
Well, I was thinking about that, but
otherwise we can just use regular washers on the bottom.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it's not
maybe
really,
that big washer on the bottom is a little overkill. We'll, I guess I'll look through what we got here.
It'll probably be best to have that nice big one on top.
For sure. So.
And then we round up the corners nice and stuff.
Maybe it is a bit overkill to have that big one on the bottom too.
Everything about this wagon is overkill. Yeah. Heck, farming is overkill.
Otherwise, I really like how these rods are turning out here. And yeah, we might just weld on the top here to create that stop. So I finished putting the heads on our rods here. Dad, he started routering, and now we're debating how big we're gonna go here for our cotter pin hole or our bolt hole here to help lock this thing down.
Quarter.
Bouncing up. 1/4 inch bolt.
Well, that's what your bolts are. Otherwise, you're gonna be down to a cotter pin. There ain't a lot of flesh there, but I can't see this whole thing slipping out of that hole.
No. And
maybe we should just try.
I think we should probably drill our holes first and then mark each one, because the height is a little different.
It might change
so
a tiny
then
bit.
Then we can keep it somewhat tighter.
So then all you'll be doing is sticking another washer in, but right, you could probably get it real close.
Yeah.
If that's lean, or the bales slide too a little bit.
I don't know if we notch a little out.
Well, we wouldn't have to notch, but maybe hit them really good with the hammer to kind of
Set them in.
set them a little bit. I think we'll be all right, but take you got it rounded up, but maybe we can, once even they're on there, a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think what's gonna happen here, that net, any little edge it's gonna grab.
Yep.
And if you can prevent some of that. Yeah, I'll think about that. I could use a router to take out enough too. We maybe should do that.
Yeah. Just
set them in a little. Won't have to be quite the whole way, and then we tap them good with a hammer, and there might be, because your bales are going to be more here, but still, that stuff's going to be snagging. It'll be snagging every little.
When it comes to your router project here, oh yeah, that'll be nice.
I'll do both corners. It's just nice for everything, because even wood like this, it just gives you slivers and everything.
Yeah, this will be really nice. That's a really nice edge. Wow.
Then I did this whole thing, but this one will lay on top. We'll leave the bolt with it, so we can use this for logs or some other thing too if you wanted for length. So I have to have this on.
Yeah, make it so we can pull these off quick and easy, and kind of like our backboard for our dump truck.
Yeah, it's no big deal, and we would bolt them on.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just a 3/4 inch nut. That's nothing. That's nothing to have them. I thought of even having a place where you can shove them in underneath so they stay with the wagon, but get a little complex. Then they stay with the wagon. Because what's going to happen, you're going to get somewhere and you're going to be like, oh shucks, we don't have the backboards.
All right, we're going to keep moving here, get this thing tied together. almost have all the drilling done, or at least about half the drilling done. Couldn't quite reach all the way through the main beams with those 6 main tie down points. So once we get the rails bolted on and finished, then we're gonna push the whole thing one way and finish drilling down through. Okay, we got everything fastened down, at least all the bolts and the rods in place. These rods going through the main beam, that was a bit tricky. That took a bit longer than it should have because our bits weren't quite long enough. So we had to kind of stair step stuff down in there. We were routering. In hindsight, we would have got a longer bit, or maybe just cut another inch off of these big beams and we would have been there. But otherwise, I think these homemade pins here, I think that'll work pretty nice. I'm happy with how they turned out. We got our front backboard fastened on, but in a way to where we can pull it off pretty easy, and then our side skirts are fastened down permanently. So all we really got left to do here, we're gonna push this back so that we have it a bit more centered, and we gain some turning radius here. And then Dad over there, he's got some log chain. What size is that? That's 5/16 or bigger?
Yeah, I think so.
And then maybe some kind of bracket to keep it from sliding one way or the other. Right? Same length should work.
Yeah.
Okay, we got our log chains on all 4 corners here, and now we're debating how we want to keep this from sliding one way or the other than just the log chains. And we're kind of talking a wood block, or I guess maybe we could just notch the back and then not the...
We don't have much because it'll land on those braces here.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we could like bolt on like 4 blocks, leave a little wiggle room. It's still something, and if that isn't good enough, eventually a piece of angle iron. I think I could find some angle iron, and we'd have to drill a couple holes through and lag them up through that beam.
I think if it was a perfectly level farm, I think the log chains would be more than enough.
Probably. There's so much weight here. But just the bouncing afterwards might start. Or even just, like you said, a little bit of a notch, it would stay in there. We'll do something.
On a warmer day too, we can take the bales outside, cut some kind of groove for these bales to...
We're gonna cut that saddle in here.
Yeah.
Maybe at least 2 inches down. Probably doesn't even have to go probably to here. And then maybe put a little notch for this chain so that doesn't interfere. So when you slide that bale in here. And we got 1 tire I think we're gonna have to replace because this is 8-hole rims and I don't have spares. We don't have anything else we can take them off. And this tire's, it's only 50 years old. You know what's gonna happen? We'll just be using stuff like we did before.
Yeah.
Which we could use them trailers anyway, but this will be the main outfit now. But I'm thinking we may come across, if we get like a beat up chopper box with tandem underneath it, we could chuck that off and, or maybe, you know, get a deal on the running gear somehow or another.
I'm pretty good at bringing home shitty gravity wagons, so maybe I'll find one of them. That's
Something.
yeah.
And even if we had to replace the tires, as long as the running gear looks decent, then what we can do, we can make it a notch bigger. Like this will haul 10.
Yeah.
That would be what,
We want
14, I think it would be. So we'd have 3 rows on top, 4 rows on the bottom. Now we got 3 rows on the bottom,
2 on top.
2 on top. And I think if it's really steep, it'll just be 6 on the bottom, 2 on top. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
I think this is gonna be stout enough that the bales aren't sloppy, which usually right after you make them, they're pretty good. But by the time you get them home and stack them and then unstack them, and then they can get a little out of shape, and then pretty soon they're not sitting on there right and they're falling off.
Yeah. This is a solid day. There's very little to do yet, so we'll probably end up throwing that in another video, but I think we can.
Just give them an update with something else.
This project is pretty well done here.
We were just talking about that tree we cut that made all this beaming, plus about 70 2x4s, 8.5 feet long, and 2 loads of firewood. Because I already brought 1 load down before that real cold snap, so we're trickling through some of that now too, because it's a pretty dry tree. And then we got some pieces we cut off here, which we might, I guess if we need them, we can throw them back on the sawmill and dice those into 2x4s.
Yeah, and about how many afternoons? 4 afternoons of work, and we got ourselves.
I mean, and it's not the whole day, you know.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like, then you got to tell yourself, if you weren't doing that, what would you be doing? Anyway, it's how it goes. But we have the raw material, we have the resources, and I think the next one's going to go more quick because we kind of got a plan here. We'll see how this works for sure. Maybe we don't necessarily have to make the beams quite as big. We kind of got our spacings figured out in that. So
Yeah.
we can really clip along. Like hardware, we were kind of fumbling around trying to figure out what's going to work.
Yep.
Now we kind of got that somewhat figured out. And I think if our beam would be even an inch narrower for height, those drill bits we got would go through.
That would have worked perfectly.
We were kind of
We were messing around.
trying to countersink things enough so we could get that to work. But that's to be expected in any project.
I'm going to end off the video here. I actually want to give a shout out. Dad hasn't read the letter yet, but he's going to read it now. There was a nice couple from Canada that sent us a letter. They have a goat dairy and a crop farm. The gal that wrote the letter, I believe she was an immigrant from Switzerland, and her husband was from the Netherlands. Love reading those letters, so thank you for any of you who have ever sent those.
Handwritten?
Yeah, handwritten. Shout out to you guys and anyone else who's ever sent any mail. As always, make sure to stay tuned for our other videos, and we will see you next time.